Hi, everyone, and welcome to Inside Sailtrek SOC. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome this week's guest, Tom Jacobs. He is the executive producer of Sailtrek SOC. How are you, Tom?
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Well, things are moving along fairly quickly. We've had a few hiccups along the way, thank you to this massive pandemic that we've been experiencing around the world. But things are definitely moving in the right direction regardless. So what's happening?
Well, we have made major progress since you and I spoke probably 6 months ago. We are preparing to leave in the next week to begin shooting for the new season of Sailtrek SOC. I'll be taking the team and we'll be in St. Lucia for a while and with one of the ships. And we will be exploring a lot of things down there that I'm looking forward to, not the least of which is to just try to get a sense of how the Caribbean has really been coping with all this. I mean, we talk to people all the time, but it's going to be very interesting for the team and I to go and see what it's really like on the ground and trying to produce a television show when we still have some restrictions and things that we have to deal with. But we're excited. It seems like we've been sitting for a very long time and not being able to travel. So we want to start telling stories again, because that's what we are. We're storytellers, and we're looking forward to that.
Well, I can imagine that you're expecting something quite a bit different than the last time when you were filming the original series. It's going to be quite a different landscape.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just getting from point A to point B is more complicated because of all the challenges with restrictions or regulations or protocols on the various islands. Every place is different. You know, the plus is we do have the vaccine now. All of our team's been vaccinated. But there's a lot of paperwork that we have to fill out. We have to take tests before we go in. We still are restricted from some places I would like to go because they are just not letting people from the outside go to some of the places that had been open before. Other places that I had wanted to go are closed and they may not be open for another 2 or 3 months. So, you know, we'll do the best that we can, but it's a challenge. It's different than before when we pretty much had free reign to go any place we wanted. So it will be a challenge.
Well, regardless of these challenges, you know, I'm sure that people are expecting, you know, the same great excitement that you brought the first time around. What can people expect?
Well, I think one of the things that they're going to see is the ships that we're on, which are so much different than what we've traveled on before. The Star Clippers line are just gorgeous ships. We'll be traveling on the Starflyer, which is a 360-foot long, tall ship. And just the very experience of being back on the sea again, I think is going to be remarkable. The ships that we travel on are obviously smaller than the mega cruise ships. So it's a much more intimate kind of experience. Going from island to island, I tell the team, we plan on about 50% of the stories that we bring to our viewers. The rest of them, we just stumble across. And that's what's exciting. Some of the best stories that we put on are things where we just happen to be walking down the street and somebody came, are you the TV people? Come here, we need to talk to you about this. And you find these stories that people want to tell. And it's amazing. And that's what I like about it, because it truly is something different every day. And I like that. I don't want to do the same thing. And I'm looking forward to telling new stories, meeting new people, seeing how they have survived the past 20 months or so, because it's been devastating for the economy down there. Let's face it, the Caribbean is a tourism-based economy. And this has taken a major toll on the people down there. So if we can tell their stories and let people see that the Caribbean is alive and open for business, I think that's going to be a plus too.
Well, this first this trip that you're taking next week, what is going to be different about this coming trip, and then what's going to be happening in December? Because there is 2 shooting periods, is there not?
Yeah, we want to kind of reintroduce ourselves to folks because we have a new team, a new host, Nikki Mohan, who's just terrific. So we're going to be primarily in St. Lucia. We'll do a little bit with the ships, but we're primarily focusing on some stories around St. Lucia and introducing Nikki and some of the people that we're working with to our audience. And then those shows will air during most of December. And then come January, all those shows will be stories that really center around the ships and the places that we visit with the ships. You'll be with us, which I'm looking forward to, since it'll be your first time in the Caribbean. So I think we can introduce you to some things that you've not seen before. I know you're familiar with the yachting industry and the Mediterranean and that part of the world, but the Caribbean is unique. And I think you're really going to find that the people are just incredible. They really are. And they have wonderful stories. I know you're going to be doing some of your podcasts from over there with some of the folks. And I think we put together a blend of topics and people that are going to make the shows that air after the first of the year really, really special. So I think I kind of look at the season in 2 parts. The first part to reintroduce us, and the second part to really get back to sea and expand our horizons once again and show people just how amazing the Caribbean is.
Well, I have to say, I'm very excited because I have had such a learning journey with the amount of interviews that I've done with so many amazing people throughout the Caribbean over this past year and a bit. And it's going to be very exciting, especially to be on board a tall ship as well. I mean, as you can see behind me, this is an example of what we're going to be on. And that's going to be quite the experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to be visiting some really fascinating places. Dominica, which that will be good because you remember Michael Lees, who you talked to. The young man who went out into the forest and then in the middle of doing his documentary got caught in a Category 5 hurricane. We'll be seeing Michael when we go to Dominica, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. Vernon and Gabriella, we'll see them when we go to Antigua. We're going to the British Virgin Islands. We'll be in Nevis, the Hamilton birthplace. We've got a lot of places to go. Now, one of the places we'll go at the beginning, as I said, when we leave next week, we'll be in St. Lucia, and we'll be staying at the Bouche.
Yes, I know, and I'm very, very angry. That place looks like absolute paradise, and I'm extremely jealous that you get to go there because I could imagine just rocking up and staying there forever. It's stunning.
Oh yes, I've gotten to be over the months. I've gotten to be very close to Verena and her family. We talked to them quite a bit, who own the Bouche, and it's a great place. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think we'll be good. It's the Bouche has such a incredible history that I think just the stories that we will do on that, the history of the sugar mill and how that impacted the island with the making of rum and all those kinds of things, is going to be terrific. And I think that's important. It's important to tell those stories. We hope to do a story while we're there on the St. Lucia distilleries, where they are still making rum. And The rums that are made in the Caribbean are very different than a lot of the rums that you would get at your local package store. They are individual lots. They are very specialized. They cost a little bit more, but each one has a distinctive flavor that is tied to that particular island. And I think that's important.
When we talk about the Caribbean, a lot of people, just think sand, beaches, and rum. But, yes, we do have to address the rum because it is something that is absolutely, amazing. There is so much more to the islands than just the rum as well.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that has been gratifying about the series as we've done it, is we have been able to really showcase the history and the culture and the people of the various islands, the art, the music, the food, the things that you don't normally think about, or the average person who just thinks about the ocean and the beach. It is so much more. The traditions that these various islands have. We have found stories that are just remarkable. We did a story 2 or 3 years ago about a whaler, a retired whaler. I didn't know that there was a whaling tradition in the Caribbean. And Bequia is one of the few places where by law, they are still allowed to hunt whales. And I know it's controversial, but for them, it is part of their history and culture and tradition. And the whales provide sustenance for the islanders still. So while it's unfortunate and it is controversial, it's part of the culture. And
see, I think what a lot of people tend to forget is that when you say the Caribbean, and I've said this before on this show, you tend to think of just one place, but realistically, with all the islands that make up the Caribbean, it is like the world in one spot, with the amount of culture, the different foods, the different languages. It's not just the Caribbean, it is literally the universe in sort of a bunch of islands.
Well, you have the African influence, the French influence, the Dutch, the English, the Spanish, the Italian, and then the indigenous people from South America who also went there. There is also, on several of the islands, sizable Chinese populations because of folks who worked on the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
And when it was finished, they immigrated to the islands. So it is truly a potpourri of people. You find everybody down there. And you can have 2 islands right next to each other and be total. In fact, you can have the same island. We'll be going to St. Martin. St. Martin is French on one side, Dutch on the other. Very different places, very different places. And that's what I find fascinating about it.
Well, and even the government is like so different. Even on one island, the government is so different, as you said, the French influence and the Dutch influence. It's just a really sort of strange and intriguing place, really.
And then you are in the middle of beauty.
Yes.
In so many of the places. I mean, you talk about paradise. You go to a place and it's beautiful, and then you say, oh my goodness, this was even more beautiful than the last place we were. And then you go to the next place, and it's amazing. It truly is. I love it, and every time I go down, I find something new and interesting that I just had no idea. And I'm a historian by training, and I thought I knew a fair amount about the Caribbean, and I found out how much I didn't know. So it's been wonderful. It's been a learning experience for me as we've gone along. So
well, I'm very excited. I'm very excited because, it's been one of those places that I've always wanted to go, and to be able to go in this fashion and to see everywhere in this period of time. It's kind of like, being a child and experiencing everything for the very first time and seeing things from an innocent sort of standpoint.
I think too, because of the way that we travel on the ships, our ships are much smaller.
Yeah.
So we're going, in many cases, to places that the mega cruise ships, they can't go. They're just too big, and they're not interested in going. We're going to places that there may only be 2,000 or 3,000 people in the entire island, and there's not a lot of interest there. So a lot of the places we go are not as tourist impacted as some of the bigger islands. And that's another thing I like about it.
Yeah.
You just.
I think that's more of a way of getting to the heart.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
you really get the true story, the heart of the story, as opposed to, you know, the shiny, glossy. Well, I'm not even sure if the touristy areas are glossy like anywhere else. They all seem to sort of mimic one another when you're talking about tourism. But this way, I think we really get to the heart and soul of the Caribbean, and that's what really excites me.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. This is the longest in my entire career I have sat any place. So I am very eager to get back on the road, as is the team. And because I have basically an all new team, I think they're going to be intrigued by what they see, because none of them have ever done anything like this before. They've never been on a tall ship like this. Some of them have done cruises, but they've done the traditional big cruises. They haven't done this. So I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, I have to say, I come from the other side of things. I've been on a yacht and fishing boats and smaller. I think the largest I've been on is a 38-meter super yacht. But I've never been on a cruise ship. So this is kind of me. We're meeting halfway, I think, all of us.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I know that you are very, very busy because, as you said, you're taking off next week, aren't you?
That's true. That's true. I'll be heading to St. Lucia. I have a couple meetings to go to first with folks down there before we start shooting. The team joins me, and we will start. In fact, I was on the phone this morning with our producer who works with me, and she's got a number of really interesting things lined up. I kind of just turned a lot of it over to her because I'm dealing with a lot of the logistics. And I gave her a general framework, and she just took it and ran with it. So it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to some of the things we're going to be doing. Well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to capture you while you're there. Yes, I hope so. And I would like you to do something with Verena, because I'm sure I think maybe we can do something with Verena and Nikki together, with you, which I think would be kind of interesting. Well, this way, at least I'll feel like I'm a little bit of the process and I won't be quite as sad. Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure after we get off air, though, that I'll hear about how I've mistreated you so badly by not taking you. No, you're right there. You're right there. I'm going to pull that guild card for at least. Yes, I know. I fully expect it. So, okay. Tom, I have to say thank you very, very much for your time. And, I wish you the best of luck in the pre sort of planning stage for this next week, leading up to when you depart and start this fantastic journey. Okay. And we'll see you very soon. Yes, you will. So excited. Yes, I know. I have to say thank you to everybody for joining us. You've been watching another edition of Inside Sailtrek SOC. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.